Hello everyone and welcome to NFL Discussion. I'm your host and NFL enthusiast Dougie Doug. In today's episode I'm going to be discussing championship weekend of the 2022 to 2023 NFL season. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, this past Sunday the final four took the field, and of those four, only two remain. The Super Bowl matchup is set: Chiefs versus Eagles, and man, I'll talk about that one in just a little bit, but man, unfortunate end for San Francisco season, disappointing end for Cincinnati season. With that, we'll just go ahead and get right into the action, starting with the Eagles. So, despite some struggles, they found a way to win. Now, Philadelphia held true to form from its first possession, which included a fourth down completion to Devontae Smith that, had replay got a look at it, would have been ruled not a catch. But luckily for Philadelphia, Smith and the Eagles offense would hurry to the line and snap the ball before Kyle Shanahan could challenge the catch, and 2 plays later, Miles Sanders punched it in, the scorer for a touchdown. Yeah, and that was essentially the high note for Philadelphia's offense, which would finish with just 269 yards of total offense and average fewer than 4 yards per play. The Eagles would piece together another long scoring drive that ended with another Sanders touchdown, but that was really the only scoring drive in which the Eagles put points on the board without some assistance from the 49ers defense in the form of penalties. It wasn't a pretty game, but it didn't need to be. The Eagles are heading back to the Super Bowl for the first time since the 2017 season, thanks to a win that came in unconventional fashion, but it's a win nonetheless. And for the Eagles, their sprint to the Super Bowl is now complete. It got off to a hot start this season, and because of that, they've been a favorite to win the NFC for probably most of the season. Now, a little bit of doubt might have crept into the picture when Hurts injured his shoulder and missed a couple games, which resulted in some losses and did leave the door open for Dallas to make a late push for the division title. But none of that really mattered, as Hurts would return in time to not only secure the NFC East crowd, but secure the number 1 seed, get the Eagles back on track, and even with some offensive difficulties, they haven't really missed a beat. Philadelphia's defense still performing at a high level, and the Eagles' ground game has been stepping up in the last couple of weeks. And because of that complete team effort, the Eagles now head to Arizona for Super Bowl 57 with the hopes of capping off a run that pretty much I think everybody saw coming since like maybe October. But yeah, either way, the Eagles have been the number 1 team in the NFC for quite some time, and now they conclude, now they kind of finish as the number 1 team in the NFC. They're going to the Super Bowl. And as for the 49ers, well, injuries and errors would end their run. San Francisco's hope of returning to the Super Bowl met some roadblocks, starting with the third play from scrimmage, in which Fred Warner would suffer an injury. He would quickly return, but his brief exit appeared to set the tone for what would prove to be a bad day at the office for the 49ers. Brock Purdy would suffer an elbow injury when he was hit and ended up fumbling the ball, forcing Josh Johnson into the game. Josh Johnson would later be ruled out with a head injury, meaning the 49ers had no choice but to proceed with the quarterback, who wasn't physically capable of throwing the ball no more than a few yards at the most. Facing a deficit on the road against the great Eagles defense, 49ers were limited in terms of what they can do for the rest of the game on offense. Shanahan would just pound the run to little positive effect, and it was obvious San Francisco wasn't going to be able to make a comeback, make it a close game before time expired. We're watching the 49ers, a team that prided itself on defense and enjoyed some success from Brock Purdy stepping in under center. Aided in the manner that they did was disappointing to say the least. And realistically speaking, San Francisco's defense could only do so much in this game. They gave up less than 275 total yards of offense and held the Eagles to 33% on third down, yet they would lose in blowout fashion. How? Well, a lack of offensive threat certainly doesn't help, nor did a turnover in 49ers territory just before the half, but San Francisco's top-ranked defense knew the challenge they were up against, and by halftime it became clear that even for that top-ranked defense, well, their task in front of them might be impossible to complete, short of a couple of defensive touchdowns, which did not happen. The Eagles avoided committing turnovers that doomed the Cowboys last week while trusting their run game and great offensive line to build a lead. And by the fourth quarter arrived, the game was pretty much over. I think actually it was over by the time Brock Purdy left. D'Amico Ryans, credit to him, he did a great job as a defense coordinator in 2022, and will likely land a head coaching job as soon as this week. Still, though, his unit deserved a better send-off. And for Purdy, well, it was an inglorious end to a special 8-game run for the literal final pick of the 2022 draft, but one that won't erase the intriguing play he put on film. Although Purdy is limited as a thrower, his willingness to improvise when the play broke down arguably made the 49ers offense better with him than Jimmy Garoppolo. Purdy's hot and somewhat lucky play will make an interesting offseason talking point for a team that is sure to lose Garoppolo in free agency, but there might be little chance Purdy gets the Week 1 call over Trey Lance. Trey Lance's third chance at being the starter. Purdy has proven that he seems to have a higher floor than past Kyle Shanahan system QBs like C.J. Beathard and Nick Mullins. And he's a name to watch. He's a name for everybody, Shanahan included, to file away in 2023 in case you need to come back to him. But yeah, more likely than not, it's probably Trey Lance. But who knows? Maybe there is a QB battle. Moving on to the second game, starting with the Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes, he did it again. Entire week was spent monitoring the status of Mahomes' ankle, searching for anything that might be a limitation after he suffered and battled through a high ankle sprain in a divisional round. But Mahomes' rare skill set includes an ability to play through the pain. Mahomes would complete 29 of 43 passes for 326 yards and 2 touchdowns, keeping the Chiefs' offense going in the second half when they ran aground. Mahomes' third touchdown pass stood as his best play of the half until the penultimate offensive play for the Chiefs when Mahomes, bad ankle and all, would scramble on 3rd and 4th, turning the corner to pick up the first down before getting shoved late, which would draw an unnecessary roughness penalty that would move the Chiefs further ahead and allow them to set up for the game-winning kick, which Bucker would make. Now, Kansas City only produced 23 points, but the numbers don't lie. Mahomes would account for 323 of Kansas City's 357 net yards Sunday and made the single play that mattered most. He and the Chiefs headed back to the Super Bowl with a hard-earned win, led by a rare talent who once again proved he's among the best in the sport. And because of that victory, we are now set up for a potentially great Super Bowl matchup. Now, there are some storylines going into this matchup. Travis and Jason Kelce becoming the first brothers to face off in the Super Bowl. Andy Reid, former coach of the Eagles, will now face off against his former team in the Super Bowl, a team that he also took to the Super Bowl when he was coach of the Eagles. So the strengths of both of these teams and both of these quarterbacks make for quite the showdown in the Super Bowl. 2 weeks until we get to that matchup, which is enough time for me to talk about every intriguing thread that intrigues them for this matchup. 5 years after winning the Super Bowl, the Eagles return of almost a completely different squad. Chiefs, meanwhile, are back in the biggest game for the 3rd time in 4 years. Same coach, same quarterback, a little bit different Chiefs team. No Tyreek Hill, but they still got Travis Kelce and Chris Jones. Shout out to Chris Jones too. He delivered in this game when they needed to play on defense. As for the Bengals, well, their patchwork offensive line, it crumbled in this game. So Cincinnati was, certainly feeling good about its chances entering this weekend. They've had 3 victories over the Chiefs. And a good portion of their confidence also originated in how the makeshift offensive line played against the Bills, a team that would fail to get after Burrow in a divisional round. The same could not be said Monday, though. Sunday, the Chiefs racked up 4 sacks early and posted a QB pressure percentage of 50 in the first quarter. Cincinnati would adjust, dedicate some additional resources to protecting Burrow, and that resulted in the pressure rate dropping below 25% in the final 3 quarters. But when it came down to the final minutes, the absences up front, they became a problem. Burrow wasn't able to get comfortable on a drive in which the Bengals needed to produce points, and a 3rd down sack, ended their hopes. It's a tale that's unfortunately all too familiar for the Bengals, who watched the Rams get after Burrow in Super Bowl 56, and while Cincinnati did make some offseason investment in the offensive line, injuries would mount once again and prevent the Bengals from producing enough to win their 4th straight over the Chiefs. So the repeat bid unfortunately ends in disappointing fashion. Halloween served as a turning point for the Bengals, who, after losing to the Browns on Monday Night Football in blowout fashion, were able to regroup and rattle off 10 straight wins and rediscover their peak form on both sides of the ball, becoming an explosive offense and getting some contributions from their defense down the stretch. And they were writing a similar story this season as they were last season, erasing a deficit to tie the game early in the fourth against the Chiefs. Cincinnati even overcame some questionable officiating, or even overcame a questionable officiating decision to force a punt, and had a chance to go down the field and win, much like it did in last year's AFC title game. Instead, the offense sputtered, and an unnecessary roughness penalty provided the Chiefs with enough field position for Harrison Butker to convert the game-winning field goal, a game that seemed like it could have been headed to overtime. Instead, ends not in overtime, but with a Chiefs victory. So, unfortunately, Cincinnati not able to go back-to-back, but take nothing away. They had themselves a great season. And with that, we'll go ahead and wrap up this episode of NFL Discussion. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that like button down below.